Whether this is the first time we've met or if you've known me since high school, my name is Holden Raulston, and this video's purpose is to tell you a little bit about me, answer some frequently asked questions, and just introduce myself to you. When we moved out from California to Idaho, it was definitely a dream of ours to buy our own home. And when we started looking at homes, we looked at new construction, and the reason that I got into real estate is specifically because of how that real estate agent treated my wife and I. Because he remembered my wife and my daughter's name, and he treated us with respect, and what was for us a very daunting process, I instantly realized that that was something that I wanted to be able to provide to people who were going through a similar experience. For me, my background in new construction really does set me apart. With over 2/3 of the homes sold in the Valley being specifically new construction, I've sold for 4 different builders in 8 communities over the past 5 years, accumulating to almost $60 million worth of transactions. So I've definitely built up a repertoire of understanding what goes into a home when it's constructed. I think that really does help my clients when it comes to either negotiating with a builder or just navigating an inspection report and recognizing what are items that we need to get fixed before you buy the home and what are just things that we can fix down the road. What do I do when I'm not at work? Spending time with the family. You know, we've got a family I'm very blessed with. We've got our dog Rory, and we just really enjoy getting out and exploring Idaho and all that it has to offer. We did move out here with a church plant, and so we are often found attending and serving, at our church. We enjoy that. But if I'm not working, I'm either gonna be fishing by myself or spending time with the family. Favorite restaurant in Boise? Does coffee count? I'll do 3. If it was for breakfast, we really like Push and Pour. There's a location just outside of Boise in Garden City that is right up against the Greenbelt, and Emily and I love to go get coffee and a pastry and just walk the Greenbelt during summer as kind of like a little date morning. During lunch though, I would definitely hit up Wild Child. Wild Child, there's a location in Boise that they essentially retrofitted an old gas station, and now they've got ice cream, burgers, and coffee all in one little spot. It's a really, really great one to go hit. And then for dinner, I would definitely say it's a split decision. Bitter Creek Ale House and Fork. We would go to Fork for a date night, nice food, just an enjoyable atmosphere. But Bitter Creek Ale House was actually where we first visited when we moved out and did kind of our relocation scouting trip. And it was just such a stark contrast from what we're used to in Southern California. Whereas here in Boise, it was just the quintessential small city experience where you're sitting outside enjoying the weather, the atmosphere, the music, the people who are walking by, and everything's just so friendly. So I really like Fork, but Bitter Creek Ale House holds a dear spot in our heart. Something people don't know about me is I used to be an avid spear fisherman and free diver back in Southern California. Fun fact, I used to be able to hold my breath for almost 3.5 minutes, and I was certified to free dive to about 66 feet deep. I've definitely lost those skills moving out to Idaho, but the trout fishing out here and just that love of being out in the outdoors is still the same. What's something that I wish people knew about me? I'm just a normal guy. In real estate, I feel like sometimes you get these status symbols of these multi-million-dollar producing agents and that they're unapproachable, or even you'll never even get to talk to them if you want to work with them. But if I ever say we, I'm really just talking about my wife and I. This is a small family business. And my biggest fret with that, would be that someone doesn't feel like they can approach me. If anything, I'm definitely a text message, kind of guy. My favorite thing about Idaho, oh man, that one's split. Because I think so quickly I go to the people here. A quick story is when Emily and I first moved out here, we went to Target just to get bath towels. And we're from California where it's just like you're always being sold something, or there's always some sort of, scam when you get approached at a grocery store. And I had to take a phone call, and she got approached by somebody. And I came back, 5 minutes later, and my first comment was, "Oh, what did they try to sell you?" And she was like, "They actually added me to the Meridian Moms Facebook page." And so I think for us, there's, just a sweetness to the people here, that everyone is looking out for one another, that everyone really does care about the community. But what trumps that probably is the quality of life. And that is something that I will always have a difficult time putting my words to, of what does that quality of life actually entail. But there's just something different about Idaho, that when you move here, there is such a relief that comes along with, and freedom is a word I think it just gets thrown around too much, but there's a freedom that comes to living in a place where the cost of living is lower, where there's more liberties, where there's more opportunities. And I think that is something that even before we moved out, the people had tried to communicate to us, and I didn't really quite understand it. But living here now, you sleep better, you are just always in a better mood. And I think that it comes back to that quality of life that's afforded here, whereas it might not be in other states. The advice I'd have if you're looking to relocate is probably a 3-parter. First one is work with someone who has done this before. We moved out of California in 2018, and there was definitely questions that we had that were very specific to our circumstances. And so working with someone who has relocated themselves, and or like in my circumstance, I do this for a living, helping clients out of California, Washington, Colorado, Nevada, I mean, the list goes on, but there is gonna be a level of protection that you get if you're relocating when you work with someone who has done it before. The second thing I would say though is visit. I think that we can often get drawn into the idealistic nature of, living here and having that, but you really don't know until you move out here and you visit. And so whether it's just a summer trip or even visiting during winter is a strong recommendation to see if you enjoy the snow and all that comes along with it, because it's just gonna give you a sense of understanding the place. And I would even, on top of that, just say, it's not always that you have to buy when you move somewhere. That might be a misconception, right? But when we moved out, we really enjoyed renting for a little bit. We got a great sense of the layout of, we live a little bit too close to this, or hey, man, we really wish we were closer to our friends over there. So when you move out, renting can be a really strong option just because it gets you settled, but you haven't made that big commitment and now you're stuck with that. And then the third thing I would say is it's just not that scary. At a certain point, there's gonna be questions that you won't have answers to, and you're just gonna step out in faith. And looking back, I'm just so thankful that we did that we stepped out in faith and we made a decision for our family that we knew what was gonna be best. And for us, what was best was getting out of California, following the church plant out to Idaho, and committing to a life that we knew was gonna be good for our children. Who do I help buy and sell real estate? I will help pretty much anybody, right? But my specialty is definitely gonna be with move-up buyers, relocation, and investors. Move-up buyer is gonna be someone who has a property that they need to either sell to go ahead and buy something bigger and better, or just need to leverage in a certain way that's gonna allow them to go ahead and move into a new property. Relocation clients, we help so many of them, and that's just something that is very near and dear to my heart. And then investors, obviously, just being able to leverage, whether that's your equity in your home or just additional funds to be able to create generational wealth. That's something we've ended up doing a lot of. Best way to get in touch with me is probably over a cup of coffee. But if you're not here locally, we do so much work with out-of-state clients that an introductory Zoom meeting is pretty standard, where I like to get to know you guys, make sure this is gonna be a good fit. And then we kind of continue those throughout the buying process, moving out here. But if you're local, man, I would love just to get a cup of coffee with you. Hear about what your goals are, and whether that is a coffee or just a text message conversation we start originally, please reach out. Hopefully you can tell I'm a somewhat approachable guy.